Hello there, you're watching All 24 News World News program, and up next are tonight's top stories. Eid in Gaza begins with deadly airstrikes as dozens, including children and paramedics, are killed in Khan Younis and Rafah, while Hamas accepts a new truce proposal. Also coming up, Moroccan occupation blocks international delegation from visiting occupied Laayoune as global efforts grow to lift the siege and expose violations. Also in our news as well, Al-Burhan vows total victory against the rebellion and paves the way for a full pardon as the rapid support forces admit withdrawing from Khartoum. And later on, Kiev accuses Moscow of war crimes in Kharkiv, expects strong Western response as Trump threatens more tariffs on Russian oil. The details shortly. Welcome back to the program. Leading on news tonight, 20 Palestinians, including women and children, were killed in occupation shelling on displaced people in Khan Younis. Strikes on Al-Mawasi, Ghizan Abu Rashwan and Western Khan Younis killed multiple families. Raids on Bani Suhaila and the city center left more martyrs, while shelling near a mosque and in Abasan al-Kabira added to the toll.
I was sitting in the neighborhood. These children didn't want to break their iftar when they were called to do so. They were planning to celebrate Eid the next day. They were thinking of waking up early and go to the prayer. What have they done to be killed this way? What was their crime? These children were playing safely when they were bombed. What was their crime? God is sufficient. They have done nothing to have this fate. Muslims around the world, look at them. The children of Gaza wearing Eid clothes while they were killed.
Similarly, 12 Palestinians were killed and others injured as occupation airstrikes targeted homes and tents sheltering displaced Palestinians in northern Gaza Strip. 7, including children, died in strikes on Gaza cities at Tufah and Shujaiya neighborhoods, while attacks on Jabalia and Beit Lahia killed 3 more. In central Gaza, Israeli occupation drone strikes on Deir al-Balah and the Nusayrat refugee camp left 7 dead, including a woman. At dawn on Sunday, Palestinians in Gaza gathered for Eid al-Fitr prayers defying destruction and violence. In Jabalia, Deir al-Balah and Khan Younis, worshippers came together to mark the holiday, turning grief into a powerful act of resilience. More details with Yasin Erktina.
At dawn on Sunday, residents of Jabalia in northern Gaza gathered near the ruins of Al-Khulafa Mosque. Despite the devastation surrounding them, rows of worshippers formed to perform the Eid al-Fitr prayer, undeterred by grief, the looming Zionist threat, and the apocalyptic scenes around them.
This is the Eid of sadness. We have lost our loved ones, our children, and our lives. We have lost everything. I lost 20 members of my family, including 4 nephews, 3 days ago.
In Deir al-Balah, many people gathered near the remains of the city's ancient mosque to perform the Eid prayer. Even in the midst of mourning the loss of loved ones, they came together to observe a moment of celebration amidst the ruins.
This is the 3rd Eid that we are celebrating in a state of insecurity. There are massacres, displacement, hunger, and a siege, but we go out to fulfill our religious duty and make the children happy.
In Khan Younis, southern Gaza, families with prayer mats in hand assembled in the yard of a destroyed school. The site, though burdened with painful memories, was large enough to accommodate the crowd of worshippers who gathered to mark the occasion.
Eid this year is very painful because of what we are going through and the loved ones we have lost. But Eid is a religious holiday during which we aspire to make children and women happy.
I have many martyrs in my family, especially my grandson. There is no joy, no taste. Even when we pray, we are afraid of airplanes.
What should have been a day of celebration and unity has instead been overshadowed by bloodshed in Gaza, causing 33 killed, where for the second consecutive year, the Eid al-Fitr holiday is marked by tragedy as the population remains trapped under a brutal and cruel Zionist offensive.
In a related story, Gaza residents performed Eid al-Fitr prayers amid rubble, near tents and in displacement schools as Israeli occupation strikes continued. In Gaza City, dozens prayed inside the damaged Grand Omari Mosque, while hundreds gathered among destroyed mosques and buildings in central and southern Gaza Strip, chanting takbirs.
احنا جايين هنا طبعا علشان عيد الفطر السعيد.
We are here for Eid al-Fitr. We are here to celebrate the rituals of God amid the destruction and the sounds of cannons. Our circumstances are difficult, but we insisted to come and pray because it is one of God's rituals. In Gaza, our situation is very difficult. Other people are celebrating these rituals in peace and safety, but we do them amid destruction and bombardment.
احنا بنحيا وسط الدمار وسط القصف.
واحنا في كل الظروف نحيي صلاة العيد.
We perform for Eid prayer under all circumstances. Although we have martyrs, casualties, prisoners, injured and killed, we are still celebrating. This is a great day for us.
وهذا لكن نحيي هذا اليوم يوم عظيم عنا.
Still with Palestine-related news, Hamas leader Khalil al-Hayya announced the group's acceptance of a mediator-backed proposal to halt Israeli occupation aggression on Gaza Strip. In Eid al-Fitr address, he urged the occupation not to obstruct the deal and affirmed Hamas's commitment to the ceasefire that protects Palestinian interests. Al-Hayya vowed Hamas and the resistance will not abandon their duties or submit to the occupation's control. He affirmed that disarmament is a red line.
الله أكبر الله أكبر ونقول بصراحة.
We say frankly to those who bet that Hamas and the factions of the resistance will abandon their responsibilities and hand over our people and our families to an unknown fate controlled by the occupation according to its desires. We say to them that you are delusional. It is impossible for us to accept humiliation and disgrace for our people. There will be no displacement or deportation.
President Abdelmajid Tebboune reaffirmed Algeria's solidarity with the Palestinian people as they endure Zionist aggression. In his Eid al-Fitr address, he expressed hope for their resilience and ultimate victory.
نجدد باسمكم جميعا تهاني عيد الفطر المبارك لجاليتنا بالخارج ولكل المسلمين، ونخص بالذكر إخواننا في فلسطين وهم تحت نار واضطهاد الاحتلال، راجين من الله عز وجل أن يرحم شهداءهم وأن يشفي جرحاهم وأن ينصر الصامدين منهم نصرا مبينا إنه على كل شيء قدير.
Moving on to Lebanon now, Hezbollah Secretary General Naim Qassem has warned that his group will retaliate if the Zionist occupation continues to violate the ceasefire and Lebanon's sovereignty. In a speech, he accused the occupation of ignoring agreements and conventions, stressing that if attacks persist, Hezbollah may have to explore alternatives to diplomacy. Still with the Middle East developments, in Yemen, Houthi military spokesman Yahya Saree announced fresh attacks on U.S. warships in the Red Sea, including the aircraft carrier USS Harry Truman. He said Houthi forces targeted the vessels 3 times in just 24 hours, vowing to escalate in response to the ongoing aggression.
With Allah's help, our armed forces continue for the 3rd consecutive week the responsible and effective confrontation of the ongoing American aggression against our country. Our forces have engaged hostile warships, including the U.S. aircraft carrier USS Truman, and the 3 separate confrontations in the Red Sea over the past 24 hours, the engagement operations were carried out by our missile force, drone air force and naval forces using multiple cruise missiles and drones.
In a similar note, Houthi military spokesman Yahya Sari announced a ballistic missile attack on Ben Gurion Airport in occupied Jaffa. In a video address, he vowed to continue strikes against the Zionist occupation until it halts its aggression on Gaza Strip. He also dismissed U.S. airstrikes on Yemen, saying they have failed to deter Houthi support for Palestine.
In solidarity with the oppressed Palestinian people and in support of their valiant resistance, the missile force carried out a military operation targeting Ben Gurion Airport in the occupied region of Jaffa. Using a ballistic missile of the Zulfikar type, by the grace of Allah, the operation successfully achieved its objective.
In Syria, President Ahmed al-Shara announced a new 23-member government, including 1 woman. Hind Qabwat was appointed Minister of Social Affairs and Mohammed Yasser Barniya took over finance. Morhaf Abu Qasra and Asad al-Shibani retained their posts as defense and foreign ministers. Speaking at the People's Palace, al-Shara pledged to strengthen the state, prioritize reforms and fight corruption. Back home, President Abdelmajid Tebboune highlighted the spirit of solidarity and reassurance that defined Algerian society throughout Ramadan. In his Eid al-Fitr address, he praised citizens, merchants, and economic operators for their dedication and contributions, acknowledging their role in fostering a sense of brotherhood and support during the holy month.
أيتها المواطنات أيها المواطنون أتوجه إليكم جميعا بأصدق التهاني وخالص الأمنيات بمناسبة حلول عيد الفطر المبارك، الخاتمة الطيبة للنفحات الإيمانية التي عشناها طيلة شهر رمضان الفضيل. نحمد الله الذي وفقنا لصيامه وقيامه، إذ عم فيه الخير والطمأنينة وساد فيه الارتياح والتضامن كميزة وراسخة في مجتمعنا العريق. ونشكر بهذه المناسبة كل من ساهم في تكريس عاداتنا المحمودة في التضامن والأخوة وبسلوكاتهم الرقية من مواطنين وتجار ومتعاملين اقتصاديين بخدمتهم وتفانيهم في مهامهم.
Turning to other news now, on Saturday, Moroccan occupation authorities blocked a Spanish human rights delegation from entering occupied Laayoune. Activists and journalists from several countries shared videos showing Moroccan forces stopping them from disembarking at the airport. Several international organizations have launched initiatives to break the Moroccan occupation siege on Western Sahara, expose its violations, and push for global action to uphold the Sahara people's right to self-determination and independence. Salman Sib has more.
Once again, media, parliamentary, and human rights delegations are blocked from entering occupied Sahrawi territories, hiding the harsh realities on the ground. In response, an international initiative has been launched to rally global support, lift the blockade, and expose the suffering of the Sahrawi people.
This ban comes as part of systematic isolation policy imposed by the occupying authorities, continuing the military and media blockade on Western Sahara since 2014, which has prevented the entry of United Nations missions and international human rights organizations.
This action exposes the falsity of Morocco's claims about openness and respect for human rights, revealing the repressive system that the Sahrawi people endure.
The Moroccan occupation wants to silence us, but every step in this march is a victory against forgetfulness. The world needs to hear the truth, and in the face of these maneuvers, Only international pressure can save the prisoners and force Morocco to respect international law.
This international campaign seeks to raise awareness about the hardships faced by the Sahrawi people and calls on the global community to condemn Morocco's repressive practices. It also stresses the importance of focusing on the fate of Sahrawi prisoners and defending the legitimate and undeniable right of the Sahrawi people to self-determination and independence.
Shifting focus to the conflict in Sudan, Sudan's Sovereignty Council leader Abdel Fattah al-Burhan ruled out negotiations with the Rapid Support Forces but offered amnesty to those who surrender. In his Eid al-Fitr address, he vowed the army would not retreat or compromise, reaffirming his stance against the paramilitary group.
The path to peace and ending the war is still open. The suffering of our people in the areas controlled by the terrorist militia, the siege, destruction and killing, especially in al-Fashir, and the necessity of spreading peace and reassurance throughout the country. All of this is possible and the way is clear, which is for the rebel militia to lay down its weapons or the wheel would turn against the oppressor.
Meanwhile, the Rapid Support Forces commander Mohammed Hamdan Dagalo, known as Hemedti, admitted for the first time that his forces withdrew from Khartoum days after the army claimed full control. In an audio message on Telegram, he vowed they would return stronger, saying the withdrawal was approved by his command. In the wake of the turmoil in the country, Sudanese citizens marked Eid al-Fitr with hopes for an end to the nearly two-year war. Ongoing conflict has led to mass displacement and worsening living conditions, creating what the UN calls the world's worst humanitarian crisis. Sofian Kanturi reports now.
The first day of Eid, Muslims in Sudan gathered in mosques marked by bullet holes, a reflection of a violent conflict that have ravaged the country. In Omdurman, a city heavily affected by destruction, people came together to pray, holding on to hope for peace. Mohammed Sheikh Hassan, Sudanese religious leader, noted that despite the scars left by the armed clashes, residents facing immense despair are attempting to celebrate the holiday amid uncertainty.
This Eid comes at a time when people are filled with sadness over what has happened to them: murders, destruction of their homes, displacement, and mass exoduses.
In Port Sudan, where thousands of displaced people have sought refuge, the atmosphere was filled with sadness. Refugees gathered on a football field to remember their losses and the suffering they have endured.
If God wills, He will reunite us all after this long journey, first to Sinar, then to El Qadarif, and again to Khartoum and Port Sudan. We hope God will bring us together with those who are absent, both inside and outside Sudan.
This year, Eid is overshadowed by the ongoing conflict, which has forced millions to flee their homes, both within Sudan and to neighboring countries. Despite the challenges, Sudanese people remain united in their hope for a better tomorrow.
Moving on to other topical development. In Ukraine, authorities reported 2 deaths and 30 injuries in Russian drone strikes on Kharkiv. A city prosecutor said 6 strikes hit residential areas Saturday night, killing 2 people in their homes. The attacks also damaged buildings, offices, and medical center and vehicles. In the same context, the Ukrainian army confirmed that a Russian drone strike hit a military hospital in Kharkiv, wounding soldiers who were receiving treatment. Accusing Moscow of committing a war crime, the military said the attack violated international humanitarian law. However, no specific details were provided on the number of casualties. And in further development to that story, Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky called for a stronger Western response to Russia's near daily drone attacks, urging increased pressure to force Moscow toward peace. In a Saturday address, he stressed that only firm action would be effective, revealing that 172 drones targeted Ukraine overnight.
We expect a response, a serious response. We are working to ensure reaction. Strong reaction is needed, especially from America, Europe, and all those in the world who rely on diplomacy. Russia must be forced into peace. Only pressure will work.
As the situation unfolds on the ground, US President Donald Trump warned that he would impose new tariffs on Russian oil if Moscow hinders its efforts to end the war in Ukraine. In a phone interview with NBC News, Trump revealed plans to speak with Russian President Vladimir Putin next week, expressing frustration over the ongoing conflict. He stressed that increasing pressure on Russia is necessary to push for a resolution.
If Russia and I are unable to reach a ceasefire agreement to end the bloodshed in Ukraine, I will impose 25% tariffs on all Russian oil imports within 1 month. Additionally, tariffs ranging from 25% to 50% will be applied to other oil imports from Russia. Putin is aware of my frustration, but we maintain a strong relationship, and my anger will subside quickly if he makes the right decisions to resolve the situation.
And speaking of sanctions, US President Donald Trump warned that he would bomb Iran if no agreement is reached on its nuclear program. In a phone interview with NBC News on Sunday, he also threatened to impose secondary tariffs on Tehran, emphasizing the need for a deal to prevent further escalation.
If an agreement isn't reached, there will be severe consequences, including potential bombings. However, if they fail to reach a deal, I may impose secondary tariffs, similar to the measures I took 4 years ago.
In another global news story, the trade ministers of South Korea, China, and Japan reaffirmed the importance of enhancing their free trade agreement during their first economic dialogue in 5 years. They stressed the need for a comprehensive trade framework to boost regional cooperation amid global economic challenges. The ministers cited geopolitical tensions and protectionist policies under US President Donald Trump as key factors impacting trade.
The global environment surrounding us is changing day by day, and instability is growing. It is precisely because of this situation that the creation of rules based on the WTO and economic partnership agreements and the maintenance and strengthening of the rules-based international economic order are so important. Currently, the global economy is under immense pressure due to increasing geopolitical rivalries, the spread of unilateralism and protectionism leading to heightened instability and uncertainty. China, Japan and South Korea share the important responsibility of promoting regional and even global prosperity.
The US confirmed plans to advance the development of its military command in Japan. During a meeting in Tokyo with Japanese Defense Minister Jen Nakatani, US Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth emphasized Japan's crucial role in deterring what he called Chinese communist military aggression. He reaffirmed President Donald Trump's commitment to strengthening cooperation with Japan as a key regional ally. Rescuers are desperately searching for survivors more than 2 days after a powerful 7.7 magnitude earthquake struck Myanmar, wreaking havoc. Authorities say that at least 1,700 people are now confirmed dead in Myanmar after what was the largest earthquake to hit the war-ravaged country in more than a century. Experts fear the true death toll could take weeks to emerge. And that wraps up our news program for tonight. For more updates, you can always check our social media platforms. Thank you for tuning in. Good night.